Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the 7th webinar in the SELCAN series. This session will cover agricultural policy and managing carbon emissions in food manufacturing. My name is Heather and I help facilitate the running of the SELCAN network, who are your hosts today, and several of our members have put together a great presentation to share with you. So I'll now hand over to Gabriella Gregory from the NFU and I hope you enjoy the session.
Hello everyone, my name is Gabriella Gregory. I am the County Advisor for South Lincolnshire for the NFU. So what does net zero mean? Agriculture is a biological process and there will always be a level of emissions. And our 2040 net zero ambition aims to reduce emissions released in the atmosphere and remove more carbon from the atmosphere. Our objective at the NFU is how we're trying to frame the context and the messaging to focus on climate-friendly farming and business resilience. So the question around the relevance of net zero now and the narrative is so important moving forward. And net zero is a policy framing term, but resource use efficiency resonates. So making the connection that there are world events that are linked to net zero, and net zero provides our solutions. And we want our nation to grow more food, and food security is our #1 priority. Here demonstrates our NFU 3 pillars, and with greenhouse gas emissions from 2019 and the proposed by 2040. So in pillar 1, with a widespread of 80 to 85% uptake, we can achieve 25% reductions in emissions. Pillar 2, we can enhance our hedge grows and increase tree planting and measures to boost soil organic matter. And pillar 3, notably farm scale technologies and supply chains, biomass materials, which will further displace of fossil fuels emissions by renewables and novel soil amendment. So what is carbon offsetting? Carbon offsetting is the process by which somebody pays someone else to take action on their behalf that reduces the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Carbon is used as a catch-all term for all greenhouse gases, including methane and nitrous oxide. We have 2 offsetting markets. We've got the compliance market, which is companies with legal obligations, such as energy companies and manufacturers. And we have the voluntary market, which is your carbon credits purchased to meet non-legally binding commitments to achieve or become net zero. And currently, only the voluntary market is relevant to agriculture. And within the voluntary market, offsets are classified as either reductions or removals, and either nature-based or technology. So what reductions? They're to reduce or avoid carbon emissions. Removals, which are approaches that remove carbon from the atmosphere. Nature-based, which is approaches that use nature, such as tree planting, and the technology-based, which is tech, so direct air capture. Scope 3 supply chain emissions. Here provides further details of each of the scopes, and we will be focusing on scope 3. So what are the benefits to the farmer or the grower of supply chain scope 3 requirements? Efficiency gains on farm can reduce your greenhouse gas output and improve productivity. So lowering the greenhouse gas products supplied by farmers and growers may enable improved market access. And the supply chain may incentivise farmers to take action, which reduces emissions. And this could be through paying for action on farm or through a product premium. Such an agreement will reduce scope 3 for processors and retailers, and so the whole supply chain can benefit. In this instance, any greenhouse gas or carbon benefit remains as part of the farm's reduced footprint. There are other potential benefits, which is the opportunity to develop a more collaborative and long-term relationship with buyers. Banks could offer a preferential terms for lending, and there is an opportunity to feed into the footprint data to promote sustainable food, particularly for export. Here shows the 4 categories for carbon markets, and it's the additional or new carbon stored as a direct result of an action, and that counts towards carbon accounting. Existing carbon stocks are hugely important to maintain. However, the farmer needs to demonstrate further action in addition to day-to-day farming practices. So as shown here, Scope 3 extends upstream and downstream of a farmer's operation, and greenhouse gas emissions work a bit like VAT, passing down the supply chain and accumulating greenhouse gases as they go. And each input has an associate emission, which contributes to the end product. Upstream includes all bought-in inputs such as manufactured fertilizer, imported feed, machinery, equipment and transportation of supplies, and downstream includes packaging, packing and distribution, and even from preparing of food, like cooked food. The voluntary offsetting market is expected to grow by 20 times by 2030, and corporates are driving the increase. So the buyer has to have a net zero strategy which prioritises minimising their direct emissions first. There are uncertainties and risks that remain, categorised into these three. We've got the commercial, policy and science. Carbon markets are in their early development and many issues need clarity. For example, the tax treatment for environmental markets, length of contract, measurement and tools. Farming tenants also face challenges in accessing markets, and we always recommend our members to seek professional advice when exploring options. This table is an indication only of the opportunities for agriculture from established to future potential. Our NFU environmental market principles are categorised into 5 asks. Environmental market need further development around the rules and standards to work to ensure markets work alongside domestic food, fibre and energy production. Complement public policy and government initiatives, and allow farmers and buyers to participate with confidence, and accessible across all ranges of farm sizes, tenures and business structures, and fairly reward farmers for the delivery of environmental goods. I've popped this slide in to demonstrate that significant emission reductions are possible across many themes, which tie in around our 3-pillar approach. And that analysis has identified farming practices and tech options to reduce emissions. Here are our NFU key messages. So we've got the industry ambition that we don't want to put the responsibility on farmers and growers and the expectation on every farm. That the industry is willing and is being achieved, but we can only go so far. And we need an immediate policy and supply chain support to essentially accelerate progress. And this slide provides NFU's net zero policy ask in much more detail in line with our 3 pillars, as we champion an ambitious productivity programme to boost investment and collaboration and incentives to adopt technical advances. So in Pillar 1, we've got to harmonise approach for measuring on-farm greenhouse gas emissions. Pillar 2, environmental improvement plans. And Pillar 3, to accelerate use of bio-based materials in the construction and within the industry. So thank you very much. I will pass over now to Worldwide Fruit.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'll just bring up my screen to share. You can see what I'm sharing, Heather. Does that come through? Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tim Jackson. My role is Operations Director at Worldwide Fruit. I'm joined today by Willie Wood, our Technical, and also Rob King, who is our Logistics Manager. We're going to step you through how we approach essentially the emissions reduction programme at Worldwide Fruit through a series of slides. And it links quite nicely into what Gabrielle has already explained to you. So my role is Operations Director. I'm going to explain to you a little bit about the business, about our ownership model, and then the guys are going to step you through a series of slides that step through our approach here at Worldwide Fruit. So for those who don't know us, Worldwide Fruit, we're based in Spalding. What we do is we essentially pack fruit for all of the major retailers. Our commodities that we pack are apples, pears, avocados and stone fruit, and we also do a series of fruit baskets as well for Marks and Spencers. Our revenue is around 155, 157 million, and we're delivering to 85 destinations around the country every day. We're a 24/7 operation that operates 364 days a year. We have 405 colleagues on site with 17 different nationalities. One of our unique points in operation is that we have over 200 lean qualified staff, and it's a skill set that we've applied into the world of environmental and sustainability to essentially to continue to drive out opportunities to give us the best position within our market. When we look at what we do and how we do it, we are sourcing from many different countries around the world, whether it's northern or southern hemisphere at different points of the year, to ensure that the customer has the freshest but highest quality produce on the shelves. So that's a little about us as a business. A little bit about our ownership model, because it's quite important to the backdrop of the presentation. So we're half owned by a board, a fruition PO, which is 28 farmers, which are around about 35% of the UK's fruit, that sort of the top fruit that's eaten in the UK, and that's all around Kent. So that's half of our business. The other half of our business is owned by a company called T&G Global, and they're part of Bayer Global Produce, who are a German company, who are turning over around 20 billion euros a year. So a really large player within Europe, and T&G operate out of New Zealand and other parts of the world. So the key thing, as I'm sure we can read through the detail, is that we have a really diverse ownership model, and it gives us a variation in whether it's science-based targets thinking or whether it is reduction activity. So we're fortunate to have the breadth of experience to draw from around the world, and also from around in the UK, but also from farms, orchards, all the way across to manufacturing sites and pack houses. So that's a little bit about us, and I'm now going to hand over to the guys who are going to step you through science-based targets.
Lovely, thanks, Tim. So just to kick off, to follow on from Tim, as a business we chose to directly align with the near-term science-based targets. Those were set by the parent company, Bayer Global Produce. We also require long-term targets that align with our retail customers' commitments. Therefore, we require a net zero target, which for us is a continuation of the emission reduction rate required for our near-term targets. This will be a result in our ambition of achieving net zero across all emissions scopes by 2040, and this will exceed the requirements of the Science Based Target Initiative, which is 2050. So a little bit about flag targets, as mentioned on the screen. These are forest, land and agriculture targets, and these are referenced as flag. The non-flag targets, which we're going to talk about, relate to emissions that sit outside of our actual fruit production process. So flag targets are essential for us, as they ensure we are adequately prepared to mitigate risks associated with our orchard-generated emissions, but also the regulatory changes relating to climate action that we know that are just around the corner.
So, as Gabrielle...
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Can we go back, please? I've not finished. So that was just to talk a little bit about the flag targets. So this slide sets out the actual flag targets, where we anticipate post-validation that our targets will reflect a 30% reduction in Scope 1, own grown, and Scope 3, third-party grown emissions by 2030. We anticipate that our validated target will be to continue our commitment to maintain no deforestation across all our primary deforestation-linked commodities, and also our net zero flag will be, we believe, 72% absolute reduction of our Scope 3 emissions by 2040, and we used a 2021 baseline for that.
Am I good to move on?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So carbon neutral, as Gabrielle has already stated, carbon neutral and net zero mean two very different things. So based on a baseline emission, Scope 1 and 2, carbon neutral is literally where you're paying somebody else to offset your carbon. Next one. Net zero is where you're actually taking out your absolute carbon footprint. So you're taking your reductions down by implementing some initiatives around being able to do that. So at Worldwide Fruit, we do a mixture of this. So we are currently looking at the purchasing of renewable electricity through our energy tendering. Carbon removal offsets, we pay for our electricity to be zero emissions. Yeah, greenhouse gas certificates and voluntary offsetting. But on our actual decarbonisation, green business travel, we're actually zero to landfill. So we've reduced our waste. We recycle nearly 45% of everything that goes out the door. Energy efficiencies, I'll touch on a little bit later. We've got 935 solar panels up on the roof, so we generate our own electricity, which only really accounts for 11% of our electricity. And then supplier engagement, so trying to work with our hauliers to see what they're doing on their net zero journey as well. How did we get there? So we've used two different themes, streamlined energy and carbon reporting. This is a legislative requirement for standard framework for large businesses. And we've been actually reporting on this for nearly three years. It's the third year of actually doing it. As best practice measures, we have voluntarily started dual reporting and include a wider scope of emissions, incorporating water, waste, and a wider range of business travel. So what does it actually look like? So if you look, we've actually been reporting our environmental data since 2015. SECA reporting actually started reporting 2021. Our original benchmark we used was 2017, so we had 3 years worth of data to benchmark ourselves again. And recently we revised that benchmarking to 2021 as we've improved. The chart shows the reduction in gross carbon impact. Yes, so as you can see, we've slowly on that downward trend. Worldwide Fruit have a business report, so not only do we have to report to the Environment Agency, but we also have to have our corporate reporting as well. So as Tim mentioned, we're owned by Baywood, so we have to do our corporate reporting through a system called Cority. Then our owners reporting through T&G, through BraveGen. And then on top of that, as well as doing our own on-site reporting, we also have to do our customer reporting through Manufacture 2030. And that's for all the main retailers as well. The way that we do that is that we have one trusted, verified source of information. We have one responsible person for collating the data, for the data reporting, and then one accountable person, which is me, that actually verifies that data into the systems. So the other piece of reporting that we use is the Energy Saving Opportunity Scheme, or ESOS. Currently, we're going through our phase 3. Now, this is mandatory energy compliance scheme for large enterprises and businesses in the UK. At the moment, there's 12,000 organisations that are captured by the scheme, and to kind of the criteria around that is if you have 250 employees or more, or a turnover more than 44 million and an annual balance sheet total more than 38 million, you qualify that you must be doing this. The one difference to previous ESOS reporting is that in phase 3, you have to report by the 5th of December 2024 what your action plan looks like, and annually thereafter you need to publish a progress update against your plan. Previously, you would have the audit, they would give you areas of opportunity to try and reduce your energy usage. But this time you're actually being asked to report on that actual say audit that you've had. However, even if your business does not meet these criteria, you may still be required to participate if your organisation is part of a corporate group where any of its UK undertakings meet the criteria. So based on our last ESOS audit that we've had, we've got a reduction opportunities plan that we've pulled together. On the next screen, we'll show you where we're up to and what that glide path looks like. So these are the areas and the emissions reduction potentially that we can generate. And we've kind of categorised that into our yearly spend, to try and then reduce that by the targets that have been set. So site emissions reduction opportunity. So if you look at the action plan on the right hand side, we've already got an energy management plan, and obviously part of that is the tender process around green energy. We've got sub-metering within the factory where we've put meters on certain bits of machinery. We've got some energy saving programs that we've actually programmed into the machines. So as the operators leave the machine, they hit a button and that reduces down the energy that is being used. We've already installed the LED lighting in the factory, both in the stores and in the production areas. And then obviously we're looking at alternative energy as well.
Okay, so thanks, Rob. So we chose science-based targets in this journey because it provides us with a clearly defined pathway that ensures we reduce our emissions. That's the fundamental reason. And we're doing so in a way that aligns with the Paris Agreement goal, which is to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees C by the end of the century. And by doing so, we're avoiding the increased risk of severe climate change impacts, the more frequent and severe droughts, the heat waves, the rainfall predicted, which fundamentally we're seeing every week of the year from the countries and the commodities that we're procuring from to fill the UK supermarket shelves. So just to close, our SBTI journey kicked off back in September 2022, and we expect the target validation to be confirmed in the coming weeks. So therefore, we're hoping to be able to communicate formally those targets before the end of June 2024. Thank you.
That's it from Worldwide Fruit. I just want to say thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please give us a shout. We hope you found some of that information useful. I'll hand back over.
Thank you all. That was great. It's really interesting to have that insight into your journey and great to see how you've developed that sort of emissions reduction plan. So thank you very much. We haven't got any questions in the chat, but we have had somebody request the slides. So I'll look to share those, assuming you're happy for me to do so. Lovely. Okay, well, we'll wrap up the session there then in that case. If anybody on the call is interested in any future and upcoming events, please feel free to contact myself or sign up using the registration form as you have done for this session. We've just got one more webinar in the series that's in about 2 weeks' time. So as I say, please feel free to sign up for that, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you all for your presentations, and thank you to those who've attended today. Goodbye for now.